People don't know this story. People see the highlight reels. They don't see the bloopers. They don't see the behind the scenes. I'm an overachiever, and I was chasing everything. And this was in the prime and the highlight of my real estate career. But God said, because I need you to see me. You're chasing everything but me. You're chasing money. You're chasing career. You're chasing fame. You're chasing everything but me. I'm going to make you pay attention. I'm going to make you need me. He sit me down. Like I couldn't get up and walk from here to that door. Like seriously, without being in crazy pain.
Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I have a guy that I've been chasing for 2 years, and I finally got him here in the studio. Yes, I have the Quentin Carter. I don't even know how to describe you in a short way because you're involved in so much. But I will share this. When I entered the real estate space in Birmingham, at the time of this recording, is probably about 7 years ago. It's a name that I was aware of very quickly. And Quentin, I don't know if you remember this, but I met you at an event, and one of the things that stood out to me immediately was your character. You didn't know me, but you walked up, introduced yourself, and please don't take this the wrong way, but I just remember thinking this dude is a star. Like, why is he even talking to me? You know, because dude, you were working the room, and like people were coming up to you. You took at least, I stopped counting at 41 selfies. But even the folks I was there with were just like talking about just the type of man you are. And so anyway, I still remember you taking the time to introduce yourself to me. You asked me about what I was doing, and you gave me that space. It was a long time ago, so if you don't remember, it's cool.
No, I remember.
Okay.
I remember.
And I just remember
at the brewery. I remember.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. But I just remember you planted a seed for me, and I was like, man, if I ever get an opportunity to have time with him, I want to do that because I have so much that I want to learn. And throughout the years, just hearing you speak more, being in the same spaces with you, talking to people who know you, I caught a glimpse of your entrepreneurship journey. And I want you to share because I don't want to do it any injustice. But if you could introduce yourself to the folks watching, and then if you could just get into your own rendition of how you came into real estate and just in your own words, and I'll ask you questions after that.
That's a funny story. Okay, well, first, like you said, my name is Quentin Carter. I'm a full-time realtor. I've been a full-time realtor now for 7 years. Well, going on 7 years in March. Actually worked in the corporate space for many years, for 16 years prior to becoming a realtor. I did everything that society wanted me to do. You know, I said I wanted to work downtown in a big building. I done it, right? I wanted to work for a Fortune 500 company. I done it. All the things that society says that we should do after we finish college. But I was never fulfilled in any of those spaces. I went through what is called a management associate program, so I got to work in different facets, of the bank and learn different departments, right? As I went around, I never felt fulfilled. Like I could not find any job that made me feel like, okay, I'm glad to come to work today. I got so bogged down over the years, and we're talking 16 years, right? And I got so bogged down over the years, like trying to find me. Like, what can I really do to showcase who I am, because I'm multifaceted. Like I can do a lot of stuff. I can go to a trap house, or I can go to the White House, and I can talk to anybody in between, right? I don't care if I'm talking to the janitor. I'm gonna treat the janitor like the executive, because guess what? They're still somebody. So I can fit any space. I can be anywhere and I can make people comfortable. And that is, I think, a strong suit that I have in making people feel seen, heard, appreciated, right? I got so depressed. Like I was so down, like for so long. And when Sundays would hit, like when the sun go down on Sunday, I would get instantly in a complete funk because it's time to go to work the next day. And I was like, I'm doing myself a disservice. I am existing. I'm not living. So how do I figure this out? And this went on 4 years because, like I said, I was in societal jail is what I call it, right? I wanted everything society wanted for me, not for what Quentin wanted for Quentin, right? I was like, okay, looked at, guy from the small town, graduated top of his class, went to college, got a good job. I was just like, this star pupil, I guess you can say, and that's saying that very humbly and modestly, right? Just trying to figure out my way, but that side of it felt good, when I went home and my old teachers and things like how proud I am of you, you're doing such great things. That part was like fulfilling, but then after 30 seconds of that highlight, here I am back like, oh, what am I going to do next? I got to figure this out. I don't even like this, but you're praising me for this, but I don't like this. Worked in many different roles. Even left the bank. Like I left the bank twice, and people have no idea that I left the bank twice, going to other companies with managers and things like that, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to find this role. I'm going to find my happy place. But I knew what my happy place looked like, and it was not a place that I could explain. It was a place that I would know when I felt it, right? I was like, I can't say this job will be the ideal job for me, but when I get to it, I will know it. That's what I would always say. I'm a people person. I don't meet a stranger at all. Like I said, I can talk to anybody. I can talk to a child right here. We can have a whole conversation, and I can make that child feel like nobody else in this world matters but that kid, right? And I'm thankful for having that as a strong strength of mine, a strong suit of mine. So as years would go by, I knew I wanted to be in real estate, but I worked for a company where real estate was a conflict. If you work in the banking industry, for certain banks in this city, well, certain banks, period, because this bank is all over the country, you can't sell real estate. They look at it as a conflict because a lot of stuff behind the scenes. They do REO, which is like foreclosed properties, things like that. So it's in the code of ethics that you cannot sell real estate and work in any capacity of the financial institution. So I kept putting it off. Like I knew I wanted to be a realtor. I used to journal really heavy. A journal entry. I'd never forget April 12th, 2012. There was a journal entry where I wrote that I wanted to be a realtor and that I will be a realtor and I will be a successful realtor. That's what I said, April 12th. I never forget it. Still have that journey. I still have that sheet of paper because I folded that piece of paper up and put it in my Bible next to Jeremiah 29:11 because I know that he has the plans to prosper me. So I know that it's so much more to my life than this. And I'm like, I got to figure this out. But God kept telling me, you have what it takes. I've given you what it takes. I'm not going to put it in front of you. You got to show me that you have the faith in me, right? And I said, okay, I see the first step, but I don't see the staircase. And I needed to see the whole staircase before I left, and that's not how faith works, right? You see the first step. You take the first step, and I will open the fog, and you will see the rest of the staircase if you do. Years went by. Years and years went by. I'm still miserable. I'm still trying to figure this out. Still trying to figure out what I want, tied to a salary, tied to benefits, just like, okay, just what can I do? The year rolls around, the year of our Lord, as I say, the year of our Lord 2018. It's when I had my big epiphany, right? I wrote my resignation letter in January of that year, and I updated it every Sunday for 6 months. I did. I changed the date every Sunday. Okay, this Monday is it. This Monday is it. This Monday is it. That Monday, it took a long time for that Monday to come. Got closer throughout the year. The bank started going through some changes, so some pivots, and started doing some layoffs and some severances and things like that. I wanted to be severanced, right? Because I'm like, okay, with my tenure here, I'm going to get paid for 9 months, and then I can go find my way, right? So nobody knew this. Nobody knew I felt like this. So I got a phone call from one of my coworkers one day. I was at lunch doing all this stuff that was going on, and she said, Quentin, she said, where are you? I said, I was at, I think, Cookout. I said, I'm grabbing something to eat. I said, what's going on? She said, you might want to hurry up and come back. We have been severanced. And I got excited. Like, I was super excited about being severanced. And she was like, I didn't think that would go over like that. I said, no, I had planned my life for the next year in that matter of 30 seconds of her telling me that we have been severanced. I had planned my life. I'm going to real estate school. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do in this time. But also, guess what? I'm going to get paid while I'm doing it. So that's where my mind was. But guess what? There was a level of comfort that came over me. You don't grow when you're comfortable. right? So if you're comfortable, we just know there's no growth there, right? Growth starts where comfort ends.
Yes.
That's when growth begins, right? So I got back to the office and they were like looking at me so funny. They was like, "You were happy?" I was like, "Absolutely. Yes, let's do it. Let's go." Right. I said, I can do a whole lot with 9 months of my pay at that pay rate, and still able to figure things out.
Right.
She was like, "We were just playing." I was like, and I got depressed again.
They were
upset.
joking?
They were joking. It was a joke, Ronnie. Yes, it was a joke. They was like, I didn't expect you to act like that. It was a joke. Yes, it was. And my heart
That is not okay.
my heart was crushed
Right.
when they thought, when I thought, when I found out that it was a joke. So I knew then at that moment, I said, okay, I gotta do something because of the way I felt and the excitement that came over me. It was a piece that I can't even explain on how I felt at that moment. I'm like, that's the feeling that I'm looking for. And what is it gonna take for me to get that feeling? Like, how can I channel that? How can I get that? That's where my mind went. A little more time went on, and I said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna do it. This is it. I'm gonna do it. I resigned. My exec at the time was like, was upset about it, wanted to talk to HR. Can we figure out some things or whatever? And I was like, no, I know we can't figure it out, but then the comfort side of me started to overtake me again. So if the HR says yes, then what? Okay? Because I was more worried about hurting my exec's feelings than worried about my own peace, right? I was worried about a Fortune 500 company that, I'm a drop in the bucket. If I leave, guess what? There'll be a listing on Indeed tomorrow. They'll have my job filled next week, right? So I'm like, okay, here I am. Like, okay, I went home and pondered. I'm like, okay, so if they come back and say I can do it, then what am I going to do? How am I going to tell him, no, I'm leaving anyway? So my prayer was, God, make that impossible. Like, I said, can that? Came back and said, well, no, HR, unfortunately, we can't do that. I was like, yes, So I left. October 18th, 2018 was my last day. Magic City Classic Week in the city, right? So, I'm an Alabama A&M University alum and playing in the Magic City Classic. So I was occupied. My mind was occupied. It was a Tuesday of that week. Was my final day, right? That was my 2-week ended on October 18th. And I said, okay, what's next? I didn't have time to think about it because Classic is so busy. I was hosting events, moving around, doing everything. So I didn't have time to really process it until that Sunday after Classic was over. And that Monday hit and I woke up and I had like a slight anxiety attack. So I'm like, I can't believe I just quit my job, right? All the doubt and everything in the world, it just consumed me in the matter of 30 minutes. I literally sit on the side of my bed and had to catch my breath. Because I'm like, what did I just do, right? I immediately went into prayer. I'm like, because mind you, I hadn't told anybody that I'd done this. My mother knew, my brother knew, and 2 of my good friends knew. They all poured into me. They all spoke life over me. I wasn't giving anybody the space to say, if I were you. I don't care if you were me because I'm not going to listen to anybody that doesn't have to deal with the consequences of my decision, right?
That's good.
So, it consumed me. So I called my friend. I don't know if I can say names here because I love to say her name.
It's up to you.
Millicent. Her name is Millicent Payne, one of my best friends in the world. I called her and we talked about it. And when I tell you she's a prayer warrior, she talked me through it. She talked me off a ledge. She was like, you got this. You got this. You got to figure it out, whatever. A few days later, Millicent, the same friend, sent me a text message. There was a real estate school, Barnes & Associates, who I'm with now, had a 2-week course because I wanted it to happen fast. Okay. I didn't want to do the 7 to 10 week class and then have to, no, I need my real estate license tomorrow. I've left a 6-figure salary job and I got to replace my income, right? But also I was very strategic in my prayer because I want to replace my income, but I want to be happy replacing my income. I don't want to go back to the same place. I want that feeling that I felt when they told me that I was severance. I said, that is the feeling that I want to get back to. Went to Barnes & Associates 2-week course. And, for the few people that knew, I was like, 2 weeks for real estate. I was like, 2 weeks. So, which means we had a midterm the second day, because in that class you have a test, you have 2 midterms and a final, right? The first day of class, basically, I mean, we're talking 2 weeks. No, the first midterm was Wednesday, right?
I was about to say that.
So class started Monday. First midterm was Wednesday. Thankfully, it did well. Had a great shout out to Joyce Horton, an awesome real estate instructor at Barnes, who's still there now. Great real estate instructor. Went through the motions of real estate school. I got so stressed because I studied so much. I had a whole breakout on my neck. I had a rash like right here. Went to the dermatologist, and he said, what are you stressed about? He said, I'm not talking about just like a stress about, something minor. He said, you're majorly stressed. And what is it? I said, I'm in real estate school, left my job, got to get my license, got to move fast. I should have done this a different way or whatever. He said, well, that's what that rash is from. It's from stress. And how they talk about stress kills and, things like that. And so I finally got it together, finished school, went through the motions and finished school, passed all my tests, flying colors, did well. That was in March. So I took my test on March 8th on purpose. I said 8 represents a new beginning. So I said, this is my new beginning. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to pass this exam. I felt prepared, but of course I was still nervous because everybody who I had known that took the test, most people didn't pass it the first time. Everybody was talking about they had taken multiple times. I'm like, that cannot be my story. That's what I told God. I said, that cannot be my story. I have to pass this test. And I said, Lord, I'm leaning and depending on you. I spoke to God like I'm talking to you, right? I'm like, Lord, I got to pass this test. And this story gets really good. I'm going to tell you. I said, I have to pass this test. So I did all my studying. March 8th, that Friday morning, I woke up at 4:15. Went in my office at home. I created me a little website. Like I said, I'm a little techie. I can't create, these big websites. Did a little basic website. I registered my name, Quentin T. Carter, right? I created my email address. Quentin is your realtor. Like I did all that this morning. I started creating business card templates, and this was before I took the exam. So it was 4:15 in the morning. I said, I'm not studying anymore because at that moment, it was so much pressure. I wouldn't retain anything I studied. So what I would have done is I would have pushed the stuff at the front of my brain out, trying to make room in that moment, right? Left home, got to the testing center. As you know, get to the testing center, you can't take anything in there, and you gotta, put up your phones and your keys and your watch, and all you can have is like a basic calculator and a pencil or a pen, right? Got in there, sit down. The first question, I started sweating immediately. I read the first question. I'm like, what is this? I said, what is, right? I was like, what is this? Like, second question got worse. Oh. So it's like I was just going down a rabbit hole at that moment. I got up and went to the restroom, and I went in a stall in the restroom and I prayed again. I'm a one thing about it. Your boy's going to pray. Okay. And I'm going to believe when I pray. I don't just pray to pray. I believe when I pray. I was like, Lord, once again, I'm talking to you. I said, Lord, I need some calmness. I need some peace right now. I need to go in here and make this happen on this test. Went back in, started flowing through the test. The test is 145 questions. You got to make a 70%. Got toward the end. I started changing answers. I was questioning myself. Because on a real estate exam, there will be 4 choices. 2 of those choices can be right. One is just more right than the other.
Okay. Yeah.
So you get very confusing because you have to read them all the way through. So I read choice A, and I'm like, this is it. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? But then you go back and look at B, you're like, no, this is it. C and D, no. But A and B can be it. But there are tricky words, what I'm saying? Like filler words, like that really makes one more right than the other. Right. Start changing answers. Like I went back and probably changed about 6 or 7 answers, and something said stop. So got up, went outside to the proctor. And when you go to the proctor, the way you pass the exam, if 3 sheets of paper come out of her printer or his or her printer, if 1 sheet comes out, you failed. If 3 sheets comes out, you pass. Because 1 is your application for licensing, 1 is your results, and then 1 is your score, right? The printer jammed. So only 1 piece of paper came out of that printer, okay? And in that matter of that moment, Ronnie, I was absolutely flabbergasted. I'm like, I cannot believe I quit my job. Honestly, I had to repent because I lost faith in that moment. And she said, don't worry, the printer jammed. She said, you passed. I literally, and I'm not exaggerating, I fell to my knees in her office. I did. I fell to my knees. I passed the exam, but guess what I passed the exam with?
What?
A 70%. So I knew it was God.
Yes.
Now, the high school Quentin, the Alabama A&M University Quentin, the grad school Quentin, there is no way I'm settling for a 70.
Right.
You know, I'm going back. I'm retaking. I'm like, no, you got to give me a makeup. You got to give me some extra credit. I'm not settling for a C. That was the best 70 of my entire life. 70%.
Yeah.
Like on the
Leading
money.
edge, yes.
If I had to change one more answer,
Right.
then what? You know? So God said, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you that I'm in the midst, right? Because I'm so used to winning. I'm an overachiever, you know? And I have an overachieving spirit, attitude, everything about me. I have to do well in things that I touch, i.e. TikTok, you know? Just giving that, you know, giving the firm example.
Yeah.
And I left that testing center that day. I remember I called my mom, and my mom says, hello, Realtor. Like, they didn't know. I hadn't told anybody. I hadn't talked to anybody, right? But everybody that I called knew that I had passed that exam. They said they all could feel it, right? Celebrated me that day. We went out, Mexican restaurant, you know, for food or whatever. Celebrated. That next day, I was at the office in my suit, taking pictures outside, getting all my marketing materials together.
Okay.
It was a Saturday, right? I'm outside the office with my photographer. God rest his soul. Anthony Stone passed away a couple of months ago. Was my guy. He was in real estate school with me as well. I mean, amazing guy. You know, just hurts my heart every time I think about it. He was my photographer. He came and took pictures. We went in the office. We took pictures. I was able to get in. I had all my stuff set up. And my broker, Abra Barnes, still
shout out to Abra.
Hey, shout out to Abra Barnes. She still laugh about that to this day, and she tell people how she came to that office, and I was at that office on a Saturday taking my pictures. She said, I knew then. She said, he's ready. He's built for this. That Monday, went out with her all day. We were gone 11 hours. I got to the office that morning about 9 o'clock. She said, you want to ride with me? She's like, I got several appointments. I'll be gone for a while. I said, yes. I said, let's go. And I didn't complain once. We had 4 or 5 listing appointments. We had a commercial, an appointment. We stopped and had lunch. Then we went to some other appointments. Guess what? And we stopped and had dinner. So we were gone that long together that day.
Yeah.
I learned so much about real estate in that one day with her than I've learned in a while. Like I watched her move, because real estate is not an exact science.
No.
Like nothing is ever the same. Like no deal is ever the same, right? But I learned so much. I saw so many different facets of real estate in that one day. Went to a listing appointment, went to a buyer's appointment, went to a commercial appointment. It was like so many attitudes and personalities and things. It was just different, right? I was like, okay, this is what I'm up against. And she was like, you ready to go? I was like, no, I'm good. I stayed with her literally the whole day. Another thing she said, you're going to be great. And I got my first client that day. She gave me my first client that day. Went to a lady's house, Cheryl Williams. I love Charles and Cheryl Williams. Shout out to them. They are amazing people. Still connected to them to this very day. And that was 2018, by the way. 2019, I'm sorry. And I'm still connected to them to this very day, because that was my first client. And went to her mom's house, and her mom's getting ready to move out into a nursing facility, and they had to sell the house. So not only was my first client not a straight sale, it was a sale of like a Medicaid sale. So anytime you're selling a Medicaid property, it works different, okay, right? Because Medicaid put liens on the property, and it's a lot of moving pieces. So I didn't have just your traditional real estate sale as my first sale, right? Put the house on the market, got like 7 to 8 offers in like the first 24 hours. It was just moving. I'm like, oh my God, it was moving so fast. But one thing about me is, like, real estate, you can't fake it till you make it. You face it till you make it. In real estate, there's a difference. There is no faking it in real estate, because faking it can get you a healthy lawsuit, right? people love to sue realtors. And that's just, they think realtors make so much money.
Right.
So they love to sue realtors. So, you know, Ms. Williams she knew I was brand new, but she was like, hey, you know, I believe in you. Like she, you know, I mean, we talked about it and she was like, you sure this is your first sale? I said, I'm not new to business and I'm not new to customer service. I said, I'm new to contracts, right? So there's a difference.
Right.
I can handle you as a client because I've done this in banking. You know, I've done loan clients and all that stuff, so I can handle that piece. So I'm a step ahead of a lot of people from my banking experience. End up closing that deal, and it was like deal after deal after deal. She referred me people, and it was just coming. It was just coming, and it was just flowing. And I was like, God, I hear you, and I see you, right? You know, fast forward went on. My next year, I doubled my salary the next year from my corporate job.
Okay, I want to be clear. You doubled from what you were making
from what I was
job
making.
that you quit.
Yes.
Wow.
My next year, I tripled it the following year. Yes. From the salary that I was making, I did well. I did extremely well, and super thankful. But guess what? I was a good steward. I tithe. You know, I mean, so I'm gonna make sure God get his right, and He's gonna make sure I get mine.
Yeah.
And it was just going on and on and on and on. And things were happening so fast, you know, they were happening so fast. And God was like, I told you, I told you to stand on that first step and I will open the rest of the staircase. You will see the rest of it if you take that first step. I took that first step when I quit that job because I put my faith, that's all I had. Yeah. You know, when you have nothing but faith to lean on, then what? That's all I had.
That's so good.
To lean on at that moment. And it was like almost like I could see the crystal stairs, like at that moment. Like the stairs started to open, I could hear the angels singing, is what it felt like. And there was a peace that came over me that took me back to that day that they told me that we were Severance. I was like, wow, I feel a sense of relief. I feel me. I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be, helping people, you know. And then real estate turned into a ministry for me because it stopped being about selling a house. I wanted to sell a home. I wanted to sell a sanctuary. I wanted to sell something where you're happy to go to every day and just release the worries of the world. You know, like this is what I'm happy about. And the commission will come, right? So that was never on my mind. Yes, of course I want to make the money, but that wasn't the first thing on my mind. The first thing on my mind was that person being at peace. Peace is so important to me. Like, I don't care what facet of life, the term a person being at peace, you can't buy peace. You're right. And your peace should be like so expensive that nobody can afford it, right? So just that level of peace that came over me, like, wow, I'm really growing and I'm really working and finding my purpose. And that was the first time in my life of being in a career where I felt that peace that I had been longing for so long, that I had never felt on any job. Yeah. I'm like, I know this is where I belong. This is where I'm supposed to be. Fast forward, became Birmingham's Realtor of the Year amongst 6,000 other realtors. Right? People have been selling real estate for 30 years, had never won that award. Guess who did? I did, right? And that's not to boast or brag, but that is to talk about God's goodness, right? The next year, I was Alabama State's Realtor of the Year. Well, I was nominated. Let me retract. I didn't win. I was nominated. But still to be standing beside people that have been selling real estate for 20 plus years with major accolades, major awards, and I'm standing on stage next to you, like, hey, I won.
Yes.
In my book, right? And it just blossomed. It just blossomed. But I was so good to people, and I'm still good to people. And I put people's like, you know, wants and needs before my check is what I do, right? And God makes sure that it multiplies because that's what I do. You know, I have clients that have wanted houses. I've talked them out of it, you know, and people will be like, why are you talking yourself out of a check? I'm like, no, I won't be able to sleep at night knowing that I sold them something. You know, prime example, young lady wanted this house bad, really bad. And I told her, I said, I don't feel like this is the house for you, right? She was like, but why? I was like, I just don't, you know? She's like, well, I want to move forward. I made her sign an addendum that I told you, you know, I advised you, I don't think this is it. About a week before closing, the house was eaten up with termites. We didn't know this. Inspection didn't determine that, right? I sent a second person out there to check. and the joists were eaten up with termites. So she was about to buy a house that was eaten up with termites. But it was something about that house that I could feel that wasn't for her. I pray about everything. I seek God about everything, as simple as coming here talking to you. I prayed about this. I prayed about coming here, what I'm going to talk about, how I'm going to be impactful, because I want to impact. I don't want to impress, right? That's what I want to do. So I prayed about that, and I walk in houses when I'm showing them, and I pray when I cross the threshold. I go into prayer immediately. God, if this is meant for my client, make it happen. But if it's not, make it a sign that a 2-year-old can understand. Oof. Because guess what? The devil hears too, right? So the devil comes with his whatever. So I said, block whatever it is. That's what I say. I said, make it impossible to close if it's not meant. Don't make it where we got to make a game time decision. Make it so it is clear as day. Like I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and it happens every time, every single time. Another situation happened. The septic tank exploded. Exactly. A house I didn't feel good about. And mind you, these are not things that were showing up on like traditional inspections. I just didn't feel good about these houses. Great commissions. I mean, we're talking $12,000 and $13,000 commission checks.
Wow.
Like, no, I don't think this is it. Another one, the septic tank exploded. And that deal, the financing fell through, right? But the way I know it was God, because guess what? We found another one about 15 days later, and the financing went through. Somebody else bought that house, because anytime I keep up with them and come to find out, the septic tank exploded. $9,000.
Yeah. Going
into a brand new home, and got to pay $9,000, like your first month in the home. No. So real estate, it's so much bigger than selling a house. It's really about selling a home. And I embody real estate, right? Anything that I touch, I put my all into it. I put my heart and soul into it, because I want people to be better from every angle of life. My LLC is Better Living LLC for a purpose, because whether it be finances, whether it be your health, whether it be anything, I want you to live better, right? And that is what I do. And I often do it, and I take that with me everywhere I go. So that is kind of like I know that's a lot.
Oh,
but that is
a lot of good stuff.
That's like my real estate journey from start to where I am today.
Wow. Okay. Well, Quentin, I've got a lot to ask you.
Absolutely, sure.
And thank you for sharing that. Let me start there.
Absolutely.
Quentin, the faith piece of it. You've explained so much, and I'll just share. I'll be vulnerable here. In this that I'm building, I am, at the time of this recording, I'm 43 years old. Mm-hmm. And since I've stepped out and done this, I'm learning more about faith than I ever knew. And I'm a person, I see myself in so much of your story in terms of like valuing structure. I could think about the times when I was in corporate America, and you just, when the check is coming, and you structure your life around that. And this is such a big paradigm shift for me. Right. But I want to ask you, Quentin, like you shaping the vision. I know prayer was a big part of that, and I'm so thankful you're sharing that element. But sharing that vision, the examples of you building your website before you even pass the test. Mm-hmm. Can you go a little deeper there in terms of like what your thought track was when you did things like that?
Absolutely. And well, I will say it does go back to faith. I mean, I'm gonna just like lead it back to that, because I was putting it in the atmosphere. I was putting things into existence, because guess what? I've created that website. I've created my business cards. I can't let myself down, because I've done this, right? And I don't want to disappoint me, right? I'm my biggest cheerleader. Although people support me, right? But I am my biggest cheerleader. And guess what? Quentin can't let Quentin down. So Quentin has a website. Quentin has business cards. Quentin has an email address. Quentin needs to put that stuff to use tomorrow, right? So that was my mindset going into it. That's where it came from. And because I truly believe, when you truly believe, we say we believe, right? No, when you truly believe, it opens up a different mindset, right? And it creates a mindset shift. And I tell people all the time, a mindset will take you further than motivation will ever take you. If your mind is made up, right? If you know that you can do this, if you can tell yourself that in your mind, and your mind is going to run everything. Your mind is the engine, right? So, your mind and your heart, they don't sync. They're not in sync, right? We give this heart to anybody, right? But when the mind is made up, you are a powerful force. So that was my vision. That was my mindset going into it. Like, I can't let myself down. Like, how can I make sure that I don't? And that's why I went in there, like, head held high, chest out. I'm like, I got to pass this test today.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Quentin. My gosh, like, I'm just going to say this, but like, I had a vision for how this is going to be.
Right.
And like, exponentially. I mean, like, bad. I mean, I'm serious. I mean that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk about fear, Quentin.
Yeah, sure.
You talked a little bit about it, but like, it seems like hearing your story, you owned your fear to a degree. Mm-hmm. I want you to talk as candidly as you can about what happened after owning your fear and essentially just slowly but surely, not sweeping under the rug, but dissolving that fear.
That's a good one. That's a great question, because, like, as I mentioned, I had a whole like anxiety situation the next morning. Like, everything flashed before my eyes. Like, okay, what if I don't find anything? What if my house goes into foreclosure? Like, everything that could possibly go wrong kind of entered my mind at that moment. So initially it wasn't easy. Like, for like the first couple of days, I was just like, ugh, like, how do I get out of this? But once again, it goes back to that mindset. I'm like, I gotta make it up in my mind that I am going to be okay. And I'm asking God to make sure I'm okay, but I gotta believe. I have to truly, truly believe. But the only way I'm gonna believe is I have to put things in motion. Because what started happening, I start feeling myself want to sleep in. And I want to lay in the bed a little longer because I'm in like this funk, because I'm like, okay, what did I just do? You know what I'm saying? But as I started to get up and get dressed like I was going somewhere, right? I started to regularly, I get up, set my alarm, get out of bed, shower, shave, everything, and put on full clothes just to be at home for a minute. Just prepare myself. And you will have no idea how mentally that shifted me in that moment, right? Because not putting on gym shorts and Crocs and t-shirts. No, get dressed, right? Be presentable,
yes.
And do your normal. Try to make it as normal as possible. I would get out of the house, I would go to lunch, different things like that, and just putting myself back into the rotation, right? And that slowly would give me it started giving me this level of confidence that was so strange to me, because I hadn't passed the exam yet, because I hadn't taken it, right? Because mind you, we're talking about like a month and a half in between. So when I started to go out places, I started to interact or whatever, because initially I didn't want to be in people's presence because I was worried about, because I wasn't there yet, right? But as I started to really build like my confidence and like, okay, I'm going to pass that test. I know I'm going to pass that test. I'm going to be successful in this business. And I start putting that in the atmosphere, right? And I start talking about it all the time. And that is what helped me. Did I have fears? Yes. Did I still have fears? Yes. Do I have fears to this day? Yes. I'm human, right? But I don't let the fears have me, right? So I talk to my fears. There are 6 daily affirmations I get up every morning, and I recite them to myself in the mirror every day. I talk to me. I talk to the problem, because, hey, the weapon will form, but it won't prosper, right? And that is what I say all the time. But I have to be prepared for the weapon. Guess what? Because I have to make sure the weapon doesn't prosper either, because I have in me what it takes to keep the weapon from prospering. Because oftentimes people say when storms come by, because your foundation has to be strong.
Right.
And that's what I was trying to build my foundation. But people often say, a storm took me down. Like, no, your weak foundation took you down, because you have what you have within you to withstand that storm. But if your foundation is weak, that storm would knock you down. So I was focusing on standing on a foundation and creating it within me, so when storms did come, guess what? I would be prepared. So that is kind of what took me through that situation. Because, I'm going to be honest, fear was it was heavy. I can't sit here and say, oh, it was all perfect. It's not perfect now.
Right.
But yeah, so that is kind of like the catalyst that kind of helped, kind of, I guess, minimize that fear is what I'm trying to say.
Quentin, I wish I had you in 2013. I say that because, and your answers are so great, because you you are taking me back, and we can't get time back, but we can always learn.
Right.
2013, I got laid off from a company I've been working for. I think by the time I got done and officially, it was like 15 years. I worked there in high school, worked there in college, whatever.
Wow.
I just knew I was going to retire there. Getting laid off was the last thing I thought would happen. So, and my joke was I was born there. But anyway, I just remember this was December before Snowmageddon.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got a 5-month-old boy. Yes, and I had to come home and tell my wife that I got laid off. Quentin, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm proud. I can share this confidently now.
Right.
But I was in a depression. Didn't know it till I went to therapy many years later. I was in depression for 6 months. Quentin, when I hear you say, I got up, I put on clothes, I went about my day like I was going somewhere. That I think that just knowing that would have shortened my depression a long time, because I went into a dark hole.
Yeah.
It was me and the laptop looking for jobs, getting rejected every other second. And you know, that compounds, and it's like, man, I'm not good for anything.
Right.
And I'm so glad you shared that, because that's going to inspire somebody. That has inspired me, even thinking in retrospect. But I do want to ask Quentin, like, looking at you on the outside looking in, highly accomplished, graduated from A&M, undergraduate, post-grad degree, very successful in corporate America. You wouldn't think someone of your stature would have to fight any demons on their own or have any fears. And so when I hear that even you, who on paper I would say has accomplished way more than I have, that you deal with that, it kind of normalizes it. And I thank you for that. What would you say to somebody like me who was in a depression, who had just got laid off, who was letting the rejections define them? What would be something you would tell them?
Honestly, that is building you for something that you don't see right now. You know, because that moment will teach you something. And we oftentimes pray for better, right? We pray for different things, but you also have to be strategic in your prayer and say, God, make my heart ready to accept what's coming. You know, help my mind to take me through this journey, because something is on the other side when you're going through that, right? But it's one of those things, and I can't stress enough, mindset. That's what I have to really stress, because if not, we would go in that deep hole and we will stay, right? But what I also tell people, give yourself grace. Let your, like somber in it for however long, you need to, but not too long, right? Because being there, it's so much easier said than done. Like I can, I had if I was talking to you and I had my job, everything was fine, I can only say so much to you, right? To what I don't know what you feel, right? So what I would do, and what I do with people now, I truly validate their feelings. I truly create a safe space. This is listen, this is no judgment, but I got to give you the real and raw. If I didn't give you the real and raw, I don't love you, right? I can't tell you that I love you and don't show you, right? So I'm not going to condone you just laying around here sleeping and being in a funk, because you're never going to get anything there. And all it's going to do is going to compound. And guess what's going to happen? The enemy is going to play on that, because they know you're at a vulnerable state and you're weak. And guess what it's going to do? It's going to push you further and further and further down that hole. And that's where I was headed. That is where I was headed. I'm telling you. Until that day, it's like a light bulb clicked on. Get up, shower, move around like you were still moving. And that made me want to do stuff. That simple change changed the trajectory completely. I mean, it was amazing how simple that was, and it changed it for me. Wow. So that's what I would share. But people oftentimes, you have it within you, and you pray and ask God for something, but He's already given it to you. What you have to do is pray and ask God to help me understand where it is. Help me. I know it's in here. Help me find it. Yeah. And I just take everything back to my faith and what I stood on. It's just I do. Do I think is it always right? No. Is it always, is my faith always steady, stand strong? No. I get weak. Like I said, I'm human. I don't proclaim to be somebody. I don't proclaim to be anything perfect. People think my life is perfect. I get it all the time. Just like you just said, what people say on paper and, your life, you've done this, you've accomplished this, you've traveled, you've done this. I still have my demons like anybody else. I do. I'm still human. Guess what? My demons may not be yours. Yours may not be mine.
Right.
But I have mine. And that's what makes us us. Because guess what? My demon may not bother you. Right? Your demon may not bother me. But it's not given that way.
Right.
It's things that bother us. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I often say. So there are people I say all the time, I don't think you could walk a day in my shoes. Like, I just don't think you could withstand the stuff that I do have to endure. Because being the person of my stature, as you mentioned, people think I'm Superman. People think that Quinn can fix anything. Love my family with everything in my soul. My family think I can fix it all, Ronnie. Like, if I can't fix it, it cannot be fixed.
All the way down to Christmas lights.
Oh, yeah, right, exactly, right. I don't care how simple as buying a TV.
Right.
They want Quinn's opinion on what TV to get. No, I love it. Don't get me wrong. I am not complaining. I love my folks. I can't stress enough. But it's just, I'm appreciative. I'm appreciative that I feel needed. Because who don't want to feel needed, right? So I do like that. But oftentimes it puts pressure on me from myself, not from them. Because guess what? I feel like I gotta fix it, whatever it is. I gotta fix it. Some things I can't fix, So that often puts me in a place, but I put myself in a place because I showed myself to be that person. So I became the warrior and the Superman because guess what? I've shown myself to be him, right? Not because they asked me to be the Superman or the warrior, but no, I've shown myself. And I have a bit of a takeover spirit. I admit that. Like I have a bit of a control spirit. And I take it and I channel that for something positive, right? I don't mean that in a negative way. But I like being in control of situations because I know my level of expertise. And I know I'm going to make sure that whatever it is done right. We're cruising Thursday. I'm the travel agent. I'm a licensed travel agent also.
Did not know that.
Yeah. I became a licensed travel agent due to my family's trips.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So my travel agent, literally, funny story, my travel agent told me in 2013, he said, "Why aren't you doing this?" He said, "You're doing my job." I was sending him color-coded spreadsheets. Who's in what cabin? This is the information. Here's their payment information, and I will make one payment because I love credit card rewards points. So my family would just give me the money and I would pay, right? But he was like, "Why aren't you a travel agent?" Like he wasn't a gatekeeper, right? He said, "You are making my job." He said, "I'm not doing anything." He said, "I'm getting paid, but you're doing all the work." But I love it. I love the hustle and bustle of it. Guess what? Guess who became a travel agent the next year? I did. Wow. He took me under his wing, showed me the ropes, and he's still my travel mentor to this very day. I still talk to him all the time. Still an amazing Sean Brown. Shout out to Sean Brown. Legacy Travel and Cruise. Amazing travel agent. Okay. So I've been planning cruises now, since then. And I've been doing them all, like also all-inclusive trips and everything.
Excuse me.
No problem. I've been doing all of that. So I do a little bit of everything. But when it comes to those family trips, my family asks no questions. They don't even know where we're going half the time.
Yeah.
Like, I got folks that say people ask them at work, like, "Where y'all going?" She's like, "I don't know." So what do you mean? What do you mean you don't know?
That, yeah.
It's like, well, Quinn takes care of it. Quinn said, we gonna go wherever. And it's just, but I love it. I do. I really, really, really love it. The only thing, like I said, I put pressure on myself when I can't fix something and make it better for them.
Gotcha.
So
okay. I got like 2 more questions. I'm gonna let you get out of here.
Sure. Ask away.
Because selfishly, I would have stayed here the rest of the day with you. But no, Quentin, I forgot my first question. Lord, I'm gonna edit this out. I really forgot it.
Think about it.
Okay.
So you can edit. Yeah, you said you can edit it.
Yeah,
So you think about it.
Okay. I'm gonna just ask you the last question.
Sure.
And if I think of the other one, I'll ask it, and then I'll fix it in post. What's next for Quentin Carter? No. I know. I just got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Quentin, in your opinion, considering all that you've gone through, do you think entrepreneurship is for everyone?
Absolutely not. No. And I will say that is because it's not for the faint of heart. Entrepreneurship is not, it looks like it's not a straight line. Entrepreneurship is like this, right? You're going to come down, you're going to go up. And people often think being an entrepreneur although you work for yourself, but guess what? You work more hours as an entrepreneur than you do in corporate space.
Facts.
There are no sick days being an entrepreneur, right? You know, there are days you have to go to work feeling like terrible because as an entrepreneur, you're not getting paid if you're not moving. Everybody is not built for that, right? People often ask me the blueprint. I'm like, there is no blueprint, right? I can tell you, I can tell you what's going on, but I can't teach you the grind. The grind is sold separately. So you have to know that you have the grind within you to be an entrepreneur, right? So no, it is not for everybody. People often ask me, how can they become one? And what I do when I'm teaching entrepreneurship to new entrepreneurs, I teach them mindset versus trying to teach them how to be an entrepreneur. You have to think a certain way. You have to look at life totally different when you're working for yourself, and your meal and your bills, depending on how you move and how you pivot, is very, very important, right? People often think you could jump out here and they think every day is going to be, you know, roses. No. And that's not the case. That's not the case. And like I said, people ask me the blueprint all the time. I said, I don't have a blueprint. Well, what did you do? I can't tell you what I did. Oh, I can tell you what I did, but the stories will be different.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
so
yeah.
I can tell you what I did, but my story is different. I'm a go-getter by nature, and I have been. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to always figure it out. I don't care, especially when I'm in an uncomfortable situation. That's growth season. That's what I call it. My uncomfortable moments is growth season. I said something I got to figure out because I'm uncomfortable, and I get uncomfortable often because I get complacent. I'm like, okay, I'm bored. Like something is missing. What I got to do next? How I got to get out of this this uncomfortable? No, you're fine. How do I get out of this uncomfortable state at this moment? Like what do I do at this moment to figure out like my next step, right? And I'm always trying to figure something out, and I'm always thinking about the next step. And that's when my ADHD kicks in because, you know, right now I'm working on boom, boom, XYZ, but I'm already thinking about how can I work on ABC? How can I start the alphabets over? And we're going to go from A to Z again. And we're going to go from A to Z again. And we're going to go from A to Z again. It's a loop. We're going to start over. So how do I get back? Or what do I have to do to get back there? So no, to answer your question, it's not for everybody.
And you can't give somebody that.
Right.
But you can teach them that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
I think those are two different things.
Yeah,
so I'm glad you made that clear.
Yeah. You can. Yeah, I can tell you all day. I can tell you what I did.
Yeah.
But if the grind is not in you, it's just not in you, right? And you know, people often ask about when I quit my job about, you know, well, I want to quit my job. I didn't tell you to quit your job. Like let's be very, very clear. That's not what I said do. Right? I told you what I did. Mm-hmm. I told you how I stood on faith and how I prepared myself. Guess what? That may not be the same story for you. You may quit your job and you may plummet. And I'm not speaking life or death on you. I'm speaking reality, you know, in that moment, because we still have to be, regardless of how much faith we have, we still got to speak reality too, right? So I'm not telling you that, but people often misconstrue that now. When they start coming to me and talking about my real estate journey and leaving a job and it's like that and the other, well, I'm going to quit my job. I'm like, no. And then also you have to also understand the level of business and entrepreneurship that you're in. I'm in real estate, which is a high producing financial business, right? You can sell one or two houses and sustain. And this is not to knock anybody's business, but you could be, I'm trying to think of an example of an entrepreneur, like you could be maybe a barber or something. Guess what? You have to do more units than I do to make the money that I make. You know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. So you quit your job to go be a barber full time, but I'm not making the money that Quentin made or having Quentin success because guess what? It's different. So I was in a high income producing business to where I know if I do well, I will eat well. I will be well. So people oftentimes misconstrue that, and that happens a lot in conversations that I have with people. Like they're in different fields that they want to quit their jobs to go do this, and I'm thinking to myself, like, how are you gonna feed your family doing that? Because that's not gonna make the money that this makes, right? Do I say that to them in a negative tone? Absolutely not, right? Because I'm gonna always follow up something that I'm always follow up with how you can do it or you can do it. I'm going to encourage you, right? You know, but I often think like you can't. That's a little tough. to try to say, okay, well, I'm gonna follow your footsteps and I'm gonna quit my job and go do this. But you can't make that kind of money. Well, you can make that kind of money in that business, but it's gonna take a whole lot of additional work.
Right.
So you never look at anybody else's story. Like, right, life is a marathon, not a sprint. Life, a marathon is 26 miles, right? A marathon has stop stations, has rest stations, has stations where you get water. You have people along the way cheering you on, right? I can't look this way and run a marathon without running into somebody. Right? So I can't worry about what you're doing. I got to look and keep my eyes on the prize and run my marathon myself. So you can't worry about what I do and I can't worry about what you do. Because we're looking sideways, guess what? You're going to run into a pole or something that you didn't see that was there. And that just puts things in shambles. So, yeah.
Wow. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Final question. What's next for Quentin Carter? That you can share at least.
That's the toughest question of the day.
Okay. Because I want to be fair, considering what you said about the ABC, the XYZ, and okay.
And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I'll follow up why it's the toughest question of the day, because I'm always reading. I'm always, watching certain things. I'm always watching how somebody moves that I admire. So to really say I can sit here and tell you what's next, I can't. Right? I'm gonna be 100% transparent, because I'll pivot in a heartbeat. Right? But once I put my heart and soul to it, guess what? We're going to the moon, and that's just what it is. So I can't say what's next. I can say what I want to be next, and I want this peace that I have. I want to remain in a place where I'm financially stable. I want to keep staying in this place where I can remain an entrepreneur and make sure that my family is still taken care of at the same time. So I want to make sure all that stuff is in play, right? But to put a pin on it to say what's absolutely next, I can't give you that.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, Quentin. Here's your part. Plug yourself.
Okay.
Let folks know. I think everybody knows where to find you already. But just in case that less than 2% of people don't know.
Absolutely. Well, I'm on all social media handles: Facebook, Quentin T. Carter; Instagram, I am Q Carter; TikTok, I am Q Carter; LinkedIn, Quentin T. Carter. What's left? YouTube, Quentin T. Carter. So on all the channels, I'm everywhere.
Okay.
You can Google Quentin T. Carter and find me, and also find my reviews. So yeah.
While you're at it, go ahead and drop your Black Planet.
MySpace, right? College club.
Yeah, come on, man. Take me back.
My college club used to be Q Carter 1914, my fraternity. That's what it used to be back then. Yeah, so absolutely, man.
Oh, man. Well, thanks again, Quentin, man.
Well, I have to pour into you, man. This is amazing.
Oh, okay.
This is amazing. I just want to share this from black man to black man. I admire what you're doing. This is awesome. I love podcasting. I admire, your tenacity, and you're following the tipping point and making this thing happen, man. So keep doing your thing, brother.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely.
You have no idea how much that means to hear you say that, for real.
Yeah, don't let anybody tell you that what you're doing that you shouldn't be doing. Because he gave you the vision, not somebody else. So I always remember that.
Yes.
And you don't have to deal with the consequences of anybody else's decisions but your own. So nobody coulda, woulda, coulda, shoulda. Because people often say that. And how many times are woulda, coulda, shoulda and still sitting on the couch and still not doing things that you woulda, coulda, shoulda done? I'm not a woulda, coulda, shoulda kind of guy.
Yeah, by any stretch.
I'm going to test the waters. Right. If it works, it works. And I tell people, try it. It may just work. It may work.
Yeah.
So then what? You got to be prepared for it to work. But as you're praying for that moment, make sure you tell God, I need to be able to handle that blessing, because if you get that blessing at the wrong time, you can fumble it. And you can turn your life upside down because you got what you prayed for, but you weren't ready to receive it. So, and I could go on and on about that.
Oh man, that's a word right there.
I
Several. Yeah.
I could go on and on about it. I'm telling you. Yeah.
Wow.
Heart posture is a big thing. Mind posture is a big thing when it comes to entrepreneurship and anything, but especially entrepreneurship. So, but anyway.
You leaving me there, Q? I mean, my God.
I can go down a bit, bro. But just being prepared for the blessing. I mean, really, honestly, I prayed about real estate, Q, safe space years ago. It wasn't time. God said, I will give it to you when it's time. That was 2013. I didn't become a realtor until 2018. Right. It was 5 years later. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't time then, right? We gotta figure this thing out. We gotta mold you to make sure that you are mature enough mentally to be able to handle the stuff that you handle now. So,
And Quentin, man, like, and this wasn't one of my questions, but one of the biggest things I'm thankful for is just how unapologetic you are about your prayer life, man. It is an area I know I can improve on, I need to improve on, but you have inspired me just because, like, I have a tendency to be one of those so-called believers who prays only when I'm in the depth of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like thankfully I credit going to therapy for helping me get more in tune with my faith and in my spiritual journey. And I'm praying more casually now. Yeah. And but just to hear you, I'm like, okay, I want to strive for some of that.
I wasn't always there.
Okay.
I wasn't always there, and I was sit down. Basically, I was stopped in my tracks. In 2021, COVID took me down.
I
Right.
remember
Not
that.
from the nasal stuff. My joints locked up. I couldn't walk. Like, there were days I couldn't get out of my bed. I would have to crawl to my bathroom. Like, I could not move. My wrist, all this was locked up. My ankles were swollen really bad. Nobody knew anything. MRI after MRI, CAT scan after CAT scan. Nothing was ever shown. They were just like, it's long haul of COVID symptoms is just a part of it, right? I would go out different functions, and I would hate to go out because if I sit down, I might not be able to get up. So, yes, I would have family members that would come to functions with me just to make sure that I can make it home. Never forget, July the 2nd, 2021, was at an all-white event downtown that I was co-hosting during the time all this was going on. I was at that event, Ronnie, and my ankles completely locked up. I could not move. And it was excruciating pain at an event. So I'm trying to keep it calm and collected. I didn't want anybody to know what was going on. So thankfully, I had two of my family members there, and they kind of like walked to the car with me really slow. We had to take like baby steps, but we act as if we were talking and laughing and playing when I was in crazy, crazy pain. That went on for months, and I had no idea why. But God said, because I need you to see me. You need to stop. You're chasing everything but me. You're chasing money. You're chasing career. You're chasing fame. You're chasing everything but me. So I'm gonna make you stop, and I'm gonna make you pay attention, and I'm gonna make you need me. And that's what happened. And that was my tipping point.
I like moment. What you did there.
That was it at that moment. I'm telling you, he sit me down. Like, I was so confused. My God, I don't know what this is. Like, I couldn't get up and walk from here to that door. Like, seriously, without being in crazy pain. And it got so bad, I had to get like a pan next to my bed because I couldn't make it to my bathroom. Yes. People don't know this.
Right, yeah.
People don't know this story. People see the highlight reels. They don't see the bloopers. They don't see the behind the scenes. They don't see how many times I've had to start over, right? But I didn't give up. I kept going. But everybody see the Quinn they see on social media that they think has a perfect life. No, I have a story. And I've been through some things that I can share. The old hymn, "Pass Me Not, O Gentle Savior," means so much more to me now. I knew it as a child because guess what? I had to be there. I was in church every time the doors open.
Yeah.
But when I hear those lyrics today, it does something for my soul because he didn't pass me by. But he sit me down. He said, I need you. I need your attention. I wasn't praying. I wasn't, going to church regularly like I normally do. I was chasing goals. I was because I'm a gold digger, right? By nature.
Goal.
Goal. Yes. I'm a gold digger. And I'm an overachiever, and I was chasing everything. And this was in the prime and the highlight of my real estate career. When I started making a lot of money, started doing well in real estate. Like, I was, yeah. He said, "No, you moving too fast." You used to believe in me. You used to pray to me. You used to talk to me, but you don't anymore because guess what? Life is good. So let me rally your life. Let me shake up your life a little bit. Let me show you, and I'm gonna make you need me. And I prayed more than I've ever prayed in my entire life.
Sure.
Because I didn't know where it was going. I'm like, am I about to lose my independence? Like, what's happening? Nobody could tell me nothing. specialist after specialist, doctor after doctor, blood work. I mean, I was a lab rat for about 6 months. I couldn't taste or smell anything for almost 1 year. Yes, for almost 1 year. I'm telling you, I was like extremely depressed in the middle of my real estate highlight. But I'm still selling homes. I'm still showing up. I'm still going to showings, and I'm in showings with clients, and they don't know I'm in pain. But I would let them walk ahead of me so they wouldn't see me being able to walk, not able to walk up the stairs or walk out to my car or having to climb in my car. I would let them drive off first, act like I'm doing something, so because I didn't want the sympathy. So yeah, I mean it's a lot. It's a lot to me. It's a lot to being Quentin Carter. It is a lot, and I've learned a lot. So yeah, that was rough. And during that time, I was losing weight like crazy because I wasn't eating. I was eating for nourishment. Right? The first thing I could taste was a Dr. Pepper. The first thing, and it took months. I mean, we're talking toothpaste. We're talking like hot sauce. I would know it was hot, but I couldn't get a flavor.
Right.
Salt, I could tell it was salty, but I couldn't get a flavor. Right? So I was eating for nourishment. I was eating soups every day, smoothies. Like I couldn't taste nothing. Nobody knew nothing. Nobody could tell me anything. It just has to come back on its own. And it just started to miraculously come back later on after things I didn't understand. But now I understand it by and by. Wow. So, yes, sir. I told you I could have, I was trying.
I mean, Quentin, I wasn't gonna let you leave me there.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you for that.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm telling you, man, I was in a depression and nobody knew it.
And the thing I'm thinking about full circle, and thinking about that, did it ever dawn on you that what you got in terms of your real estate success was the same thing you've been praying for?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is just how I'm taking it. Mm-hmm. You prayed for it, you claimed it, you started putting faith into action. Mm-hmm. You got it. You did very well. And I forgot you drifted away.
Yeah, I did.
I was like, hold on, no. You pray, you gonna come back because you
exactly. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
I was at the highlight, like 2021, 22 time frame. Like real estate, I was crushing goals.
Yeah.
Like majorly. We're talking 7 to 8 closings a month. Like I was doing exceptionally well in the business, right? And I was forgetting everything but God. I wasn't, I was tithing now. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But I wasn't doing anything else. I wasn't praying. I wasn't even thanking God for where I was.
Oh wow.
And I can honestly sit here and say that. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't. And it wasn't because I wasn't thankful. It wasn't because it wasn't on my mind. Because it became an expectation. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm here now. I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
That's what it became. It became an expectation. God said, I'm gonna show you. And I hadn't had any of those problems since. And nobody knows what happened. Nobody knows what happened. Blood work, perfect. Numbers, perfect. Blood pressure, cholesterol. I mean, everything. MRI was clean. Nothing.
And you look at them folks like,
y'all
didn't find anything.
It's something.
Right.
It's something in here. It's like, no. I'm telling you, I would not be able to, if standing up was painful. Was painful. I had clients that I would pay other realtors to go to the showings for me. But they didn't know. I never told them, what was going on. I just got an emergency, which was an emergency situation.
Yeah. You didn't lie to them.
So I can't show up, but I want you to be able to see the house. I want you to be able to close on your house. But I would write the contracts. I would do all the negotiations, but sometimes I couldn't go show the houses because I could not move. And it happened often. It happened a lot. Like events started coming up and I didn't even want to go places because I was worried about. Prime example. It was something that was going on downtown. It was A&M. It was A&M and it was a gang. A&M was here for something. But anyway, I said, okay, I'm going to drive downtown and I'm going to go to this event. I can't remember what it was. It was something big. I can't remember. But anyway, drove downtown for the event. It was a big alumni function or whatever. And we had to park. I had to park a long ways away. So my family, being who they are, all on the phone with me, like, are you sure you're okay? I said, I'm fine. I'll be okay. Do we need to go with you? No. I got downtown and I parked. I stepped out of the car and I literally fell because I couldn't stand up. It happened that fast while I was standing there. So I had to pull myself up, like outside, not without making it a scene, because that's the pride in me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I sat back in my truck and I literally cried at that moment because I was tired. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, what is this? Like, what is it? You know, and it was just something. It was really something. I'm like, why am I going through this? What is going on? I can't even go and walk down here and see my fellow alums or whatever, because I got out of the truck. As I'm driving, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Step foot out of the truck. My right foot just gave out. And it would be crazy pain. I would have to take my shoes off. Yeah. And drive home barefoot. Oh. Yeah. And then the pressure of the accelerator was also hurting too. So I had to drive home slow and then get home and then just, yeah. Man, I'm telling you, it was days. I cried many days, bro. Many days. Because I didn't understand. I'm like, what is this? So to think that I'm not going to give him his praise now.
Come on.
Hey, to think I'm not gonna stand on faith and say I know who I am and whose I am. Oh, you got to get this work. And if you can't get this work, I'm not good for you, because I know that this is God and all God. Because there is no medical report that says anything was wrong with me. Nothing. And I'm telling you, and that is the weirdest thing. That is the weirdest thing for me. And I would take like prednisone, that was for like aching joints and stuff like that. And that will make it feel better, but it wasn't fixing anything. It would come back. So it was just, I was in the ER, man. I was in the ER probably weekly trying to figure out, because it was hurting just that bad. And I'm like, somebody has to tell me something. You can't tell me that nothing is wrong with me. Right. But now I know. It took months later. But I realized, God said, I had to sit you down. I needed your attention. I needed your attention because guess what? This day is coming where you're going to have your podcast. You're going to be talking to people. I'm going to give you my people, their heart and their mind. And you got to be able to feed them. And you got to be able to feed them from a space of knowing where it came from. Right? So this day was coming. I didn't know this day was coming then, but this day was coming and here we are. Right? So all that all thing works out for the greater good. Yes. And all thing works out for those who love him. And that is what happened. And now it all makes sense. That was 3 or 4 years ago. But guess what? I finally get it. It clicks. I talk about my TikTok, like podcasting. I have, a good 30, 40 people listen to me all the time. And they wait to listen to me. Right? And I want to pour into them. And I want to pour into them from a great point. Because what you don't want to happen is, if you're talking to somebody when they're vulnerable, and you don't want to put any toxicity in a vulnerable person's mind. Preach. Because all it's going to do is make it worse, right? So I want to make sure that I am telling them the things they need to hear to uplift them, right? To be at peace or whatever that looks like, things like that. So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. I'm sorry I held you hostage, but you were not going to leave me there. You were not.
Talking about it is therapeutic.
Yes. Okay. Well, listening to it is inspiring. I mean that. Quentin, man, seriously, I do appreciate you making the time. I feel very selfish because this is something that I've wanted, but you delivered, and I'm very appreciative, very grateful of that. I never know how to end my podcast, so I usually don't. Yeah. But stay tuned for the next guest. Thank you all for watching.
Yeah.